Okay, thank you for bearing with us through these little glitches. Thanks, Christine, for troubleshooting. Maybe the clicker will work, maybe it won't. But so, this is CTRL+X. We are radically decentralizing digital publishing. I've worked as a journalist for the majority of my career, but I studied engineering. And so I saw straight away a lot of the problems that were occurring in the journalism industry that were derived from the infrastructure failures. Yeah, I do need you to click. I showed this slide at this bar night for creatives building on Solana, and someone's chair just broke when they saw it. They leaned back so hard at all the problems in the journalism industry. But yeah, I think there's this trend that's really important to be aware of, which is the massive revenue decline in the journalism industry. So 43% drop over the last 10 years, and then at the same time, we're seeing a 50% raise in freelancers, which is code that these publications that are our legacy institutions are hemorrhaging money because of their business model failures of the past. So they're having to fire their editorial staff. So the roles of journalists within institutions are changing from employee to contractor, and then they're bringing in more freelancers to fulfill their mandates, their functions as companies of providing journalism. So this presents all kinds of interesting new ownership, like a whole window for what this means, because if a journalist is independent, the ownership rights for their content rest with them first, not the company. If someone's on staff, then they're pretty much owned. So I'm using the industry's failure as my potential win. And next slide, please. I've built this system around something I'm calling proof of content. And CTRL+X works to preserve, monetize, and distribute journalistic content, primarily for independent journalism, but this is just the beginning, because as soon as this system gets going, publications are going to want in, and eventually AI systems too. So we're using smart contracts to build a token-gated content marketplace where journalists can immediately begin to preserve their archives that are out there, which most journalists can't even tell you where their portfolios are anymore because they're scattered between different URLs, and maybe some of them are offline forever because the companies went bankrupt. Maybe others are behind paywalls, and so it's really time for journalists to begin to pull their content back to them and manage how it's used in the future, especially if they're the rights holders, which a lot of them don't even realize because they don't read their contracts. So, three-step process: archive, license, exchange. And it's blockchain technology that makes this possible. For the first time in history, I mean, there are other noble attempts in the past, like civil media, for example. But a lot of the pieces of the puzzles before kind of, I think, applied blockchain to a part of the puzzle that is important, but that the industry wasn't really ready for. It is important for journalists to own the companies that are producing the journalism, but there's a more immediate need, which is that independent journalists need to be paid. They need a new revenue stream as the old ones are collapsing. Otherwise, journalists will not be able to continue operating. So this is what our infrastructure looks like. And it starts with these existing layers of protocols, and then we're building our own new protocols, defining them around content registration, access control, so things like privacy and security, which we're going to talk about briefly on the next panel, and also unlocking this micropayment system where, for the first time, readers will be able to, instead of just choosing between paying a high subscription fee or just not reading the article that they wanted to read and doing something else, they'll be able to buy just that one article. And this is all because of the way that we're integrating with the existing Web 2 content management systems. So I'm going to take you through a demo of what this actually looks like now, if you would mind hitting play. So we start with the process of wallet connection, which is what ties the user to their content access. So you connect, and then you can see the assets that you have stored in your system. So these are from a Web 2 site. These are from the CTRL+X website. So we want to add more. We take the export file from a ghost site, which is where CTRL+X is hosted. Our system parses it. These are the individual articles. And we can now choose, what do we want to set the price at so that a reader can access just this single article? So say 5 cents to read. Imagine that 5 cents multiplied by 10,000, a million users. That's not trivial. So we go through the rights attestations. I am the owner of this, the lawful owner, so I can do whatever I want with it, which is not currently the case, but it should be. I sign the transaction. This is me. I'm sure all you crypto people are familiar with this. And now the license for this content that says I wrote this on this original location is stored on the blockchain forever, or as long as the blockchain exists, or until there's a solar flare. So now you can go to the Solana Blockchain Explorer and find this record forever. And so what we've also done is take the original text, the original composition of the article, and encrypt it so that it's not just sitting on the blockchain in plain text, even though someone would have to be really dedicated to scan the whole blockchain just to read, because there's so many different transactions on it. But so our system indexes the content and then allows the user that just uploaded it to push it into a marketplace where, I don't know if anyone remembers Google Reader, but we've redesigned the system to basically mimic Google Reader with micropayment transactions instead of free reading experience. I'm sorry for anyone who's colorblind. I didn't think of that when I was designing it, but this is why we need to do this now, because we're moving into a digital dark age where, as we heard before from all of the content preservation experts out there, everything is going offline at an alarming rate. The institutions that we once trusted to maintain our digital knowledge systems are not reliable anymore because they can't sustain themselves. So I think that author-owned content is really the way forward, where we're distributing the rights, we're giving authors the ability to enter into buyer-seller agreements in a completely new way. And this is incredibly powerful because authors are the ones that have the most to lose when their content is deleted, but the world also does. We need to be able to preserve this knowledge. So when journalists own their digital legacies, then readers, for the first time, can read what they want, not a bunch of extra stuff bundled in with subscriptions. Publishers can then directly license independent journalists from these new marketplaces that are created, which you could have infinite. They could be for any sort of buyer-seller content relationship. And AI systems can be able to ethically source content with following the attribution all the way down. So someone wants their AI agent to build them their dream newsletter, go for it, but pay the micropayment transaction fees, set your price. And then we're building the ship, or we're flying the plane while we're building it here. We're through the MVP phase and now just trying to get to launch where we can safely and responsibly, with privacy and security considerations in mind and lots of auditing, be able to release this as a product to people who need it now, to journalists that are working and they're sick of being mined, they're sick of the enshittification process where their work isn't being valued. We want to restore the value to journalism. This is our team. Lots of Berlin-based people here. And a reminder that nothing is guaranteed in this world. We don't need to have journalism. We can all just sit in a cesspool of state-sponsored media and have no idea what's going on anywhere. So if we want journalism, if we want to know what's going on, we've got to start to change the incentive structures. We've got to start attributing the value that real journalism provides our world and provides our democracies. And now, thanks to these new technologies, we have the ability to do that. Thanks a lot.